BPod Studios.
Now it's time for Zolak and Bertrand. Brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks on the Sports Hub.
Noontime on a Finish Strong Friday, presented by 128 Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric, the company that finishes every job strong with frigid cold temps this weekend. The team at 128 is standing by to handle heating emergencies. And if you want to get out of that cold and have some fun this weekend, stop by the home show at Shriners Auditorium in Wilmington. Hang out with 128 and discuss your home improvement needs like heat pumps, pipelining, generators. They do it all. Happy Finish Strong Friday. Go to call128.com. Phil Perry of NBC Sports Boston is in our Town Fair Tire Studios. Phil, hello.
Good afternoon, boys.
Hi, Phil.
How are we doing?
I'm good.
Good. Busy. Still busy.
Still busy?
A lot has happened since we last spoke, by the way, which wasn't all that long ago.
Which day was that?
Was it Monday or Tuesday?
I forget.
And then we had Mayo's press conference. And now we've got no offensive coordinator here in New England.
That is correct. What's your reaction to this news? Bill O'Brien going to Ohio State.
Not surprising that he won't be here. I think they wanted, not all that long ago, to keep him around. I think they were interested in having him back, as bad as the offense was.
When you say they, who are you referring to?
I think everybody was interested.
Gerard Mayo and ownership.
I think so. And so, and I would even go one step further, and this would just be something that you could deduce based on the timing. And I was talking to my friend Tommy Curran about this earlier today. What have they been doing in terms of searches these last few days? They've been all over defensive coordinators. They've been all over a couple of different special teams coordinators. Why haven't they started the offensive coordinator search? Why do you think that is? And my guess would be it's because they were waiting on Bill O'Brien to see what he wanted to do, because they did have interest in bringing him back. But now he's at Ohio State, and we're going to see this offensive coordinator search start in earnest. But I think that's the delay. Well, otherwise, why would you delay? You're in the process now of updating the staff, of trying to get some new blood in here at spots that you know you're trying to fill. Well, if you knew you were trying to fill offensive coordinator since the end of the season because you didn't want Bill O'Brien here, wouldn't you have already started? So I think they were waiting around for Bill O'Brien. I don't think Bill O'Brien wanted to be here. I think it was a really hard year for the guy. And I think it speaks to just how hard a year it was for him, because we know he wanted to come back in part because he's from here. His family likes being here. It's a good place for everyone, or all the O'Briens. And now he's going to go to a place that he's never been before. He's going to go back to the college game, which maybe he loves it. Everybody that I've talked to that is in and around the college game, given the way things have changed these last few years, it sounds like a bear. Doesn't sound like any fun at all. Between the transfer portal and the NIL money and the kids and the drive and the fire and the passion and the want to.
Recruiting's irrelevant.
Recruiting, it is a year-round thing. It sounds like it sucks, quite frankly.
Feels like a real step back.
And so for him to choose that is, again, that's what I believe. For him to choose that over coming back and staying in the NFL, that I think speaks volumes as to how he views the situation here.
He goes to Ohio State. He's going right back to work right now. Is he not?
Yeah, spring ball's coming.
Yeah, you're recruiting high school kids right now.
Yeah.
Yep, spring ball's coming up. Yep.
That's a busy, hectic schedule right away.
Got to install your offense, or you got to run Ryan Day's, whatever, which one he runs.
But there's probably, if that's what you're doing, there's going to be a learning process there. You know, again, I don't know how much experience he has with guys that are on that staff there, and maybe he's got some long-standing background with Ryan Day, but it feels like a relatively large undertaking.
It sure does.
So
tells you how bad it was here, huh?
For you, what's the next best move for the Patriots now that Bill O'Brien has moved on?
This is your opportunity to officially veer from the Earhart-Perkins system. This is it. Now, what I would say first is Bill O'Brien's offense was not Josh McDaniels' offense. They believed in some different things. And in terms of personnel, and some of this might have been Bill Belichick driven. But Josh McDaniels loves the fullback. Like he likes to get under center. He wants to run a lot of power. Bill O'Brien likes to spread it out. Yep. He likes to go empty. He likes to go shotgun. He's going to incorporate more RPOs. There were a lot of differences between their offenses, but in terms of the language, there were probably a lot of similarities there. I think this is your opportunity to change the language, change the scheme, get something here in New England finally that will be easy for a young quarterback and other young offensive players to pick up in the schemes that are all over the NFL at this point and that young quarterbacks are finding success with is that Shanahan-McVay system. Now, they have similarities themselves. Those guys believe in some different things themselves. Shanahan is very much a wide zone guy, but McVay has veered a little bit from that, and he's used a little bit more power, downhill stuff out there in L.A. these last few years. But they are from the same tree. And when you look at the postseason right now, some of the young quarterbacks that are having success in the playoffs right now, what's the system they're coming from? It's Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. It's C.J. Stroud and Bobby Slowick, who's a 49ers guy. In Houston, it's Brock Purdy in San Francisco. So that's where you go next. And there are a number of, especially McVay-associated guys that I think are available and could end up interviewing here. So, whether it's Nick Caley, who's been here in New England and just spent the year under McVay out there in L.A. coaching tight ends, Zach Robinson, pass game coordinator, quarterbacks coach in L.A. for Sean McVay, former Patriots draft pick, 7th rounder, 2010. Beetle, we got a UMass guy on the list this year,
Shane
too.
Waldron.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, part of the Charlie Molnar coaching tree.
Eric Bieniemy out there, too.
Doubt.
Everybody talk about Eric Bieniemy going to Washington and how he's going to change things there.
I don't know if you ever saw one of those Molnar offenses.
I never did.
But that kind of wizardry, you definitely want that here.
Is that how you would describe it if you had one word to use, wizardry?
Wizardry, yes. Yes.
They could use some of that,
was magic.
quite frankly.
It was magic. It really was. No, I'm not trying to knock Shane Waldron. I think Shane Waldron would be a tremendous hire.
Very legitimate candidate.
Yeah.
Has called plays. He's been by McShay's side for a long time now. The last couple of years, he's been in Seattle, and I think he helped make Geno Smith a lot of money last year.
Yeah.
So good for him on that front, resurrecting a veteran's career in that way. But if you want somebody who knows that McVay system, I don't know who's better than Shane Waldron right now. So, there's a number of names out there. There's some 49ers guys as well. Clint Kubiak, who's Gary Kubiak's son, who's in San Francisco right now. He's their pass game coordinator, 36-year-old guy, well-respected guy. Maybe that's somebody they could bring in.
But that's the boot.
Yeah, you can run the boot. Naked boot.
All sweet.
Boot action. Keepers. I think they call them keepers. I think that's the language that they use. Keepers. That's the boot is implied there.
Right.
So that's the tree I think you want to be leaning on, right? Don't you guys feel the same way?
I do.
It's spread for a reason.
First thing I told Zoe last night, I'm like, that's it. Perkins Earhart out. Goodbye. You're starting over. It's the blank canvas. You get a chance here to just completely start fresh and make it more palatable and have young players and draft picks, and everyone that now becomes a Patriot has an easier time adjusting and picking up what it is the team wants to do. And you're using more modern concepts that the game has started to adapt.
Yes. And there are some tweaks within that system, right? Like if they go with somebody like Dan Pitcher, who's the quarterback's coach in Cincinnati, to me has been a more spread out version of the Shanahan-McVay thing. Because Joe Burrow is comfortable in the shotgun, and so they've run a lot of shotgun stuff. So if that's what you like, if that's what you feel like you're going to be drafting in the first round, if you think you're getting a quarterback at 3 overall, and you're going to get a kid who you'd rather have in shotgun than under center, even though the under center stuff seems to make these guys more comfortable because you can run the thing and because it helps sell your play action. But if you want to go more shotgun, then maybe you go with Pitcher from Cincinnati because that's the Burrow offense that you'd be trying to bring here. So there's a variety of different ways you could go. It's going to be fascinating how they do it because, Zoe, we know Mayo doesn't have this massive backlog of offensive people that he has worked with over the years that are offensive coordinator caliber guys.
It's tunnel vision. You've been tunnel vision to defense. You and Steve run the defense, fix the defense, keep this thing growing. I get nervous now because you see the people that are coming in, it's all special teams, it's linebackers, coaches, it's secondary coaches, D-line. You're trying to bolster the defense where we haven't had any movement offensively. And I think it's going to be a real indicator as to how they approach free agency and the draft. Because, I brought this up at the start of the show. If Josh is back, I could see them getting like Marvin Harrison at 3, keeping Mac for Bridgier, have Josh try to fix him, but also get a guy like Penix or Bo Nix with the 2nd pick or 3rd pick. You see what I'm saying? And we're going to have that type of approach. Now, you blow it up and go young, I think that's an indicator we're getting the 3rd best quarterback available. We're picking at 3.
What do you think the chances are Josh McDaniels coming? Because my belief is that if Bill Belichick ends up in Atlanta, there's a good chance Josh McDaniels is there with him.
I think they work side by side.
So that to me again, that to me feels like
pay him,
it just feels like this would be the time where you officially part and you start to shift and you start to move it, and in part because this Patriots system, the way it's been set up, especially under Josh McDaniels, I've had people in the league tell me this. It's a complicated system, and it's really hard, young or old. First year in Josh McDaniels' system, it's tough to find success, and that was part of the reason people were encouraged by Mac Jones after his rookie season. They looked at Josh McDaniels and said, boy, they run a lot of stuff there. And he may have been holding his hand and talking in his ear up until the 15-second clock. People didn't really care about that. They look at Derek Carr after the first year between Josh and Derek Carr in Vegas. Derek Carr didn't look good in that system because he wasn't comfortable. It's a voluminous offense. There's a lot of breadth to it. They put a lot on the quarterback. Do you want to do that with a rookie coming in who's coming from a college-style offense or a guy who is, even if he's coming from an offense where there are some pro concepts involved? For instance, USC with Cliff Kingsbury, right? Caleb Williams is working with some NFL people at USC. But his style of play is run around, off script, off platform, extend the play, throw down the field. Is that a marriage that you want to even try to make work, Josh McDaniels and somebody like that?
It's sort of like
a real question.
I go back to that Manziel documentary, and you watch that whole thing, and you hear Cliff talk about it on there and how we had to figure out and just let Johnny go be Johnny. Just go. We were so worried about keeping him confined within our system, and it clicked on me after we had that loss, and we said, nope, I'm just going to let him be him. Let him go nuts. And that ended up working.
Phil
That's
Perry,
the way they approach it,
is with us. I want to get to your commentary they had on TV the other day about Robyn Glaser, who takes over in a new role with the Patriots. We'll do that and get to your calls coming up next.
Zoe and Beetle are back with more on the Sports Hub.
Robyn Glaser has been a senior executive for the Kraft Group for a long time, since 2007. She is now
I've heard more about Robyn Glaser in the past 4 days than I did in the previous 24 years.
Well, I think there are people who might be confused by my tweet, and maybe it's just because I'm reacting to Twitter in real time. We all know that's a dangerous thing. But her title now is Executive Vice President of Football Business and Senior Advisor to the head coach. She was previously Senior Vice President of Business Affairs and Chief Administrative and Compliance Officer for the team. Again, she's been around the team and been around the Kraft Group since 2007. Senior executive, I've been told today, quote unquote, super smart, and has had a variety of roles within the organization. She is helping facilitate contracts and hammering out language in contracts. She's not negotiating player contracts.
Yeah, she is an attorney. She was intimately involved in, I don't know if she is an attorney, I shouldn't say that, but she was very much a point person during Deflategate in dealing with the league.
And she was a point person during COVID, is my understanding. She was the team's compliance officer. So the
Pat's Talk Podcast, Tommy Curran, Phil Perry, NBC Sports Boston. You guys having a chat there about Robyn Glaser and her new job post. She's been promoted. She's got a new gig. You heard Phil Perry say she's super smart. Super smart.
I don't know why I put that in quotes. Like I could have just said she's very smart. That was the end of a long day.
I mean, really,
sometimes
really
you have a long day. That was
smart.
the end of the press conference, introductory press conference.
Super smart.
It's just like, what do you just say? She's smart.
Brady was
like,
an A plus type of guy.
Quote unquote.
Shine.
Super smart.
I don't know why that was necessary, but things
Sounds
come
like
out.
you like her,
You guys
Phil.
know things come out sometimes.
Sounds like Phil Perry's a fan.
Well, so I don't know her. I met her the other day. I met her the other day at the introductory press. First time I had met her.
Paths.
And she's obviously been here for a long time, since 2007.
And she's got
she
big
predates my tenure on the beat.
Yeah.
You want to call it that?
Sure.
But I'd never met her before.
Well, she's got a big presence on LinkedIn. I don't know, but it's a very full page. Very full. A lot of data, a lot of info on
I wish I was better at updating that. I don't know. I couldn't tell you the last time I, really touched my resume on LinkedIn. I feel like that's, if you're up on your professional life, it's something that you might touch up every so often. I haven't done that.
You
Have
should.
You?
No.
Not a LinkedIn guy?
No, I'm on there.
Oh, okay.
I don't really do much with it, but
so
it's more to find people when you need a contact.
Right.
That's what it's really good for. Like, I got to reach out to this person. It's not someone you reach out
to
all the time. Yeah, it sort of acts that way.
Does her LinkedIn indicate that she's quote unquote super smart?
I don't know, but she should put that under. I think there's a thing where you put your skills. You select
you get
skills.
Endorsements from people too.
Yeah.
So maybe she can say Phil Perry, quote unquote super smart.
Maybe if Phil gets back on and he can update his sort of profile, he can then offer
now I'm starting
a recommendation.
To feel bad. Now I'm starting to feel bad because the quotes and you guys making fun of me, which is completely warranted because that sounded silly to say it that
Proficient
way.
in
But
Microsoft
now it's the quotes,
Word.
The quotes part of it makes it sound like it's not legitimate. Like I could tell you. So I've spoken to a bunch of people who know her much better than I do.
Google Docs and super smart.
People
And
that
she
quote
is-
unquote know her.
Quote unquote.
Yep, there it is. She's a smart person, somebody who does a lot of different things for the team. I think what people are wondering, because she was mentioned in the Seth Wickersham article, is she going to be determining what happens football operations-wise? Is she going to be in the draft room and picking players? No. She's not. That's not her role. But she is, in her new role, going to be helping out Gerard Mayo. There's obviously a lot of things that come across a coach's desk that he's not going to be accustomed to having come across his desk.
Senior advisor to the head coach and also the executive vice president of football business. When you say football business, what does that mean?
So what I've been told is, it's almost like the non-on-the-field things that the football team deals with, i.e.
travel.
Right? Okay, maybe travel is part of it. Maybe it's IT. What kind of resources can we devote to the IT department for this quarter?
Sure.
Nutrition, Ted Harper's the team nutritionist. He needs a XYZ machine to make the cafeteria as modernized and as up to date as possible. Okay, what can we allocate there?
Content wise, how much content people are
you know what? I didn't like this to begin with, and I said this has the appearances of a babysitter, ownership's babysitter for their new head coach.
That's strong.
It is. I'm just telling you what I think.
Okay.
I think the perception of this. It's their person. She's in the Wickersham report as going down and questioning Bill Belichick's assistants about Bill Belichick along with Jonathan this season. And now she's put in this role with close contact to the new head coach. I would say if she's going to be an advocate for anything to ownership, is it going to be to spend more money on those resources and facilities and IT and the weight room and the nutritionist, or is it going to be someone who's there to keep the budget in line? Who's she going to be an advocate for? Football and its players and coaches, or the owners?
I would say more the owners.
Look at the background. She's going to be there to keep things in line for the owners. So I don't love it.
But
I don't like anything about it, actually.
Okay, but how does it work with other teams, you think? You think it actually goes to the owner? Hey, Arthur Blank, we need a new bench. We need a new squat rack. And we'd love to spend $1,000 on the new squat rack. And it goes to him, and he says, no, find a $500 squat rack, please. I think most teams probably have someone who's in this role.
Hot tub systems need to be upgraded. We need to add 3 training tables.
Yeah, the only thing is most teams aren't 31st in cash spending over the last 7 years. I'm starting to have some real concerns about that.
So if you're a fan,
No, you should.
and you're looking at that, that's
not to mention,
okay.
The Patriots have been smoked in the players' survey. Smoked. They got their ass handed to them a year ago. Let's see where they are at this offseason.
So maybe there's some change. Maybe maybe via Gerard Mayo, it's communicated to ownership, hey, we got to make real changes here. Maybe Bill Belichick was okay with having a weight room that was 25 years old, that basically had been put in place.
Not given what he said about the Raiders facilities.
You were there when he told you that the Raiders facility was amazing. It was
That's
the
true.
Taj
That was the
Mahal.
Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
Everywhere the guy's ever gone that wasn't the Patriots facility, he told you how great it was.
That's true. That you're right. And you know what? They have started during Bill Belichick's tenure, they started work on a new portion of whether it's going to be the weight room or a rehab.
Yeah, Matt Patricia was designing it, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That was my understanding, that he was the one who was
understood.
kind of helping them get that structured because he sort of oversaw something similar in Detroit. One of his many duties in 2022. Not only did he have to redesign the offense,
that would be
the
something where her role would, I would assume, step into that type of position where she would oversee something like that.
Potentially. She does a lot.
And
like I said in the podcast.
Coach, but she knows Gerard, like even from the business aspect of it.
Does a lot.
Because it says business on there.
And she, I don't know. Who knows? Is she thrilled that she's being talked about as often as she has been over the course of the last 4 days? Probably not, because she's kind of been this behind-the-scenes person for a long time. And she's helped in a variety of different capacities, like social justice initiatives. She's been a point person for a lot of the different players. That's how a lot of the players, I think, really have gotten to know her really well over the last few years. She's really helped guys like the McCourties and Matthew Slater and Dietrich Wise sort of get their stuff off the ground. So she does a lot. Obviously, Mayo trusts her a lot. And so she's gonna be a presence moving forward, and she's gonna be one of these people that Mayo trusts that he needs, quite frankly.
Yeah.
How many people does he trust
if he doesn't like
be
that,
on the staff this coming year?
If he doesn't like that dynamic that Bill had with Bears, and Bears is always with Bill, and to get to Bill, you got to go through Bears. Somebody's got to be the buffer for Gerard on some stuff, and maybe he doesn't want like that personal assistant always following him around or having to lead him into rooms, tell me where I got to go, keep me on schedule. And maybe he has a different relationship with her from working from the business end of it when he made that transfer to Optum or to Putnam, excuse me.
No, you had it, Optum.
It was Optum. Yeah. Why did I say Putnam? Putnam's
That's okay. They're big presence down there in Gillette, too.
Same.
Yeah.
Big sponsors. So, however this plays out, she's not going to be in there picking players.
Yeah, I think I don't think this is a move that fans really need to be concerned about in any way. I don't think her role is, outside of the stuff that she's going to help Mayo with, I think the other part of her role, the football business role, is pretty similar.
I'm more worried about the offensive coordinator.
Other than Wickersham reports days ago that the rumors had begun with the staff that it would be Jonathan and Glaser running football in 2024, and then days later Glaser gets a promotion to senior advisor to the head coach. I mean, can you understand some fans having some concerns?
Sure.
Because I can.
That title is what got my attention. It's one thing to be, VP of business or whatever the other part of the title is, but when it was
football business,
senior advisor to the head coach, like, whoa, what is that? What is that?
Right.
You expect that to be a football person.
I think fans are well within their rights to be like, what the hell's that?
I get it.
That seems odd. Wickersham wins again.
Does any part of
what a prediction?
Does any part of me detailing what I understand her role to be moving forward, does that put you at ease at all?
No.
Or you're in the same place?
No, he's dug in.
I'm dug in.
You just dug in.
You're not going to move me on this one yet.
All right.
Not yet.
She was a COVID point person too. It's I've dealt with her before. I know her.
Yeah.
Because I don't see her making football on-field decisions.
Could you have when she was running the COVID protocols? Could you also envision her checking in with assistant coaches mid-season to get critiques of Bill Belichick?
I couldn't.
Okay, then. So let's see where it goes in the coming weeks, months, and into the 2024 season.
I could see ownership asking though.
Well, it's their team.
Yeah.
They own the thing.
They can do whatever the hell they want.
That's right. Ryan Johnson has headlines right now. Let's get to your calls next.
This is the show that keeps Boston sports fans working.
Yeah, I'm a sexual freak.
Zolak and Bertrand.
That's stuff we do.
On the Sports Hub.
Come out, Virginia, don't let it wait. The Catholic girls start much too late. Oh, but sooner or later it comes down to fate. I might as well will be the one. Well, they showed you.
All right, 12:37. Zolak and Bertrand. Phil Perry in for the hour. Ryan Johnson, you got a little update here regarding Bill Belichick. What do you have?
Diana Rossini reporting that Bill Belichick and Falcons owner Arthur Blank had dinner on Thursday. According to a team source, Belichick flew to Atlanta on one of Blank's private jets. He is set to have his second interview this weekend.
The jet was here yesterday.
Were we tracking?
Somebody.
Yeah,
were we tracking?
Someone told us that. They emailed us yesterday afternoon. But that wasn't surprising. Like, yeah, we heard the report yesterday. He was going for a second interview. So why wouldn't the jet be here? That's not unusual.
Yeah, after having met with Blank on his yacht last weekend, right? He's now out to dinner with him.
I heard
preparation for the interview. So this is really kind of interview number 3 coming this weekend. Then
I heard he likes Jersey Mike's.
What?
It may have been at Jersey Mike's in Walpole this week.
Who?
Bill. Get a sandwich.
Oh.
But you meant, I was going to say,
maybe. But he was telling Arthur Blank, let's go get Jersey Mike's.
Dinner at Jersey Mike's.
Like, I'm trying to think, where was the jet? Was the jet in Boston or was it in Walpole?
I thought maybe
or Norwood?
The ground round wasn't open.
You can land
it. Going to the ground round.
I think it was at Logan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe they were going to the varsity down in Atlanta.
Where'd you take him?
The varsity?
Good
Get a hot dog?
Oh, what was our place? McCormick and Schmick's, right? Right there in the corner. We used to hang out there.
Classy.
In Atlanta. Nice.
Classy.
Hey, Sims!
Real nice shrimp cocktail there.
You guys surprised that the search for Belichick hasn't grown outside of Atlanta at this point?
I thought there'd at least be a second team.
Do you think he's turning other teams down?
I think that's possible. I think there are teams that maybe reach out and he says, yeah, it's just not a great fit. Sorry.
Well, I think, listen, I'm not flying all around the country and doing 18 interviews. Okay?
Right.
And if I know who he is and believe that this guy just, when one thing stops, we got to get on to something else. He's always planning ahead. They always talked about Bill looks 2-3 years ahead. If he knew this thing's coming to an end, and you're talking about, going back to Germany game, if decisions were made and everybody hears it, and if they don't have a great relationship over the last 2 years, meaning him and ownership, and where this thing's heading and the roster is just void of talent, you call your agent, you start talking to people. This could be the lone team he talked to, or maybe he handpicked them, or maybe it's just flat out no market for him. And maybe that's the way a lot of people feel. I think a lot of people feel that.
I think it's complicated on both ends to find a great fit for Bill Belichick.
I do too,
because there are teams that I really don't think would be interested in Bill Belichick, and it goes beyond just going 4-13 this year, or maybe getting beaten by some of the teams that are looking for head coaches now.
I can see why the Chargers would be hesitant. Because, the next we've effed up our coaches. We really haven't. We don't want to screw up our quarterback again.
And he's a young guy, and we're going to bring in Bill Belichick. He's going to be 72 years old, and he might be here for 2 years, and then we're looking for another guy after that potentially.
And we're not an ownership group that likes to spend. Let's make sure this next guy's going to be here a good 6 to 8 years.
I mean, he's also got some pretty good competition out there in Vrabel, in Harbaugh, right? These guys that are interviewing in similar places. So,
can you convince Pete to come somewhere? There's another guy.
Right. I would think you could. I mean, he didn't seem all that excited. He wasn't pumped and jacked about moving to the front office.
There's another aspect to this where these new money guys that own teams now, whether you're David Tepper or Josh Harris, and I'm not saying Bill Belichick shouldn't be interested in going to Washington. He shouldn't.
No.
He should not be interested in going to Carolina.
No.
You're not getting the record there in 2 years. So
why Atlanta, though, Phil?
Do you want to coach until you're 77?
What's he seen in Atlanta?
Well, I think Atlanta's roster is better. And I think Arthur Blank is experiencing so much urgency right now to win now. He's 81 years old. He's been close, and he's never gotten there. He's hired a lot of first-time head coaches during his tenure as owner of the Falcons, and he hasn't gotten there. So this is a chance for him to change. And where the new money guys are looking at their overall operation saying, well, we want to be numbers-based. We're going to be analytically driven. And you hear Bill Belichick's quote from 2019 where he says he uses analytics less than zero in his decision-making, and that might turn you off. Because the reason you're owning a team in the first place is because you worship the numbers. Like, that's just not a great marriage on either side. And so Atlanta, it seems as though if they're interviewing him for a second time, and you're right, Zoe, it would not stun me if he had been back-channeling this thing. He's got contacts everywhere, right? We know he knows very well two guys who just recently worked for Arthur Blank and Scott Pioli and Thomas Dimitroff. Is he reaching out? Hey, what was it like to work for him? How would he want to do things on this end? How would he want to handle this part of the operation? It feels as though between the roster, the setup, the owner and his urgency to win now, and maybe his willingness to give Bill Belichick the power he wants, that to me feels like the best marriage. They, of course, need a quarterback, but maybe there's some options out there, i.e. Kirk Cousins, that would make it look a lot better in year one right away.
What about the relationship or lack thereof with McKay?
Could be an issue. I've heard from a couple people here in Foxborough who look at the Atlanta situation from afar.
Say, no way he's going to work with
and they say, boy,
he ain't working with that guy.
A lot of layers there. Because you got an owner, you've got a vice chairman, you've got a president, you've got a CEO, and you have a GM who's already in place and reportedly was maybe even part of the interview process,
right?
Sort of indicating that he's going to be there if Bill is there. That's a lot of people. And I find it highly dubious that Bill Belichick is going to want to answer to that many people. And so maybe part of the reason they're having a couple of different interviews is just to sort of hammer that out. What exactly is the chain of command here, Arthur? Because if you want to talk to me on your yacht, or you want to give me a call in my office, that's one thing. I ain't talking to Greg Beatles about what we're doing defensively in our too high safety structures. Like that's just not happening. That guy's nobody knows that name, but he's the president of the Atlanta Falcons. So that to me could be a real hiccup. But if you're in Bill's spot, and again, you're 72, you're coming off several not so hot seasons, and your market's not amazing, you got to be willing to make a few concessions to end up in the place where you want to be. So that might be one of them. Okay, if I have 4 bosses now, fine. I can do it for a few years. I have 4 bosses.
Let's get back to your calls quickly. Ken in Connecticut. Hey, Ken.
Hi, guys. By the way, I feel like I hit the jackpot because I wanted to talk to Phil Perry, and he's there. I got a couple thoughts about the Patriots. First of all, I think one of their problems over the years, companies that are very successful have a tendency to get stale. I think the Patriots over the years have gotten stale. They need to change their organizational chart. May be good defensively. He may turn out to be a very good head coach. But I would suggest that they find a general manager and an offense coordinator. And I have one person in particular who I think Phil Perry knows well who might fit that. The individual is a brilliant tactician, knows football, been in it for 14, 15 years, and I'd like your opinion on it. And his name would be Dan Orlovsky.
Dan Orlovsky.
To do what? Call your games?
Friend of the Next Pats podcast, Dan Orlovsky.
Yeah, what do you think of that idea?
Bring him in.
Stop it.
What do I care? Bring him in.
There you go.
No, I mean,
Bill's
listen,
just a people pleaser now.
I like the way that he explains the game to the masses. I think he does a great job in the media. Do you guys like listening to him on TV?
Yeah, I like his breakdowns. Really good job. I don't need the reporting.
Yeah, so I think you're going to want somebody, though, Ken, with a little bit more experience, right? Somebody who preferably has called games, has worked with young quarterbacks, has developed young quarterbacks, who has a significant amount of experience in these systems that we're talking about. While Orlovsky is breaking them down on TV and I think does a really good job, I don't think he's quite what you need right now. You need somebody with a little bit more to their resume as a coach.
We need to ask Phil Perry what he thinks the odds are that Mac Jones is still in the building and still the Patriots quarterback in 2024. We'll get to that right after this.
Now,
look at all of this suit.
Zolak and Bertrand on 98.5 The Sports Zone.
She's a good girl, loves her mama, loves Jesus, in America too. She's a good girl, is crazy about Elvis, loves horses, and her boyfriend too.
Phil Perry is with us in our Town Fair Tire Studios. Final segment with Phil. Zoe suggested earlier that maybe Mac Jones stays in New England and is on this roster and is the bridge quarterback, even if you're drafting a quarterback. And maybe there's a possibility of Josh McDaniels wanting to stay in New England and try and get the job here as opposed to going with Bill. What do you think? Is there a chance Mac Jones stays and plays football for the Patriots in 2024?
Well, my guess is Josh McDaniels goes with Bill Belichick.
That would be my guess.
I said that.
And so, as far as Mac Jones
can't have it both ways, though.
I'm just saying if it doesn't happen, there's a path to be ready for, potentially.
I just saw a thing from the Washington Post that league sources believe that if Belichick ends up in Atlanta, his coaching staff could include Josh, Matt, and Joe Judge.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep. Take them all.
Have fun. But sorry, Phil, this was all about you. Mac Jones.
No, that's just going to be so amazing to just see that all come together down in Atlanta. Just get the band back together, man.
Run it back. Still here.
Get Kirk Cousins
Still there.
in the mix there. I think Kirk
Still
Cousins
there.
would mesh. I think that would work okay.
Well, Jimmy.
I don't know. don't you know what you have in Jimmy?
Yeah,
Especially if Josh
question,
McDaniels is
back
there.
to
Okay,
his question.
Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Here's what I think on Mac Jones. I don't think you need to deal him until you need to deal him. Meaning, figure out what you want in free agency and in the draft, and then maybe he's a draft day deal. But it would be, like, I would put it at less than 50% that he's back with the Patriots. I don't think he's a major factor in their plans. If they strike out in free agency, for instance, and I know we've talked about some of these players with you guys here on the show, Jacoby Brissett, Gardner Minshew, these backup, quote-unquote, number twos that could maybe start. They're probably somewhere between 33 and 40 in terms of their overall ranking at the position in the league right now. Pick up one of those guys for a few $1,000,000. You don't have to go crazy on it, but somebody who could get you by, and then you go and draft your quarterback in all likelihood at number 3. That, to me, feels like the plan. And then once you get the guy that you want in free agency, or maybe you wait until the draft, then there's a team out there that didn't, for instance, get a quarterback in the second round because they want to back up for their starter. Or, you get to day 3 of the draft and they're still looking at their board and saying, man, we would have loved to have come away with a quarterback. Well, would you be willing to give up a 5th-round pick for Mac Jones? Because that might be the kind of deal the Patriots could be interested in. He's only got 1 year left on his deal, so you're not going to get a ton back. Obviously, his performance last year would suggest the same, right?
Yes.
But I think by the end of the draft,
there's no market for him.
By the end of the draft, my guess is he's not with the team. That would be my guess. Does that surprise anyone here?
But would you raise an eyebrow? Say it falls apart for Bill, and this thing doesn't come together in Atlanta, and Josh comes back here, and they hire Josh back. Do you think that is a road to potentially? Oh, maybe they're going to have him try to fix Mac and draft Marvin Harrison and maybe get like a Bo Nix and have somebody sit behind him.
Yeah, I think that could change the equation if McDaniels is back.
That's my point.
Because he likes Mac Jones. And the guys that were here when Mac Jones was a rookie, they're looking at that situation that he was placed in these last couple of years like the rest of the world is and saying, boy, what did they do to the kid? And so maybe. But I think based on what you've seen these last couple of years, I mean, if you're Gerard Mayo, you're the head coach. Who you have as your starting quarterback is one of the most important decisions you can make. And what you've seen from Mac Jones these last couple of years, it would not stun me if Gerard Mayo looked at it and said, yeah, we like him as a person, and it didn't work out for a variety of reasons, some of which were under his control, some of which were not. But it's just, even if we think you might be able to be fixed, quote unquote, it might not be here. That's, to me, how I anticipate they'll look at it.
Well, if you're Mayo and it's your first time out of the gate as a head coach, do you really want to tie your first year to Mac Jones after what we've seen? Like, that's a hell of a decision to make if you're him. To like, yeah, you know what? I'll let my first year ride on him.
And it would just be indicative of what is your plan really at the position. It's what we've been knocking Bill Belichick for since Tom Brady left. What's the plan? What's the plan at quarterback? And it looked like they finally found one in 2021, but then the way they handled the position didn't look like they felt all that strongly about the guy, or they cared about how well he developed. So what is your plan at that position? If you end up with Mac Jones as your starter again, that would tell me that the plan has gone askew. I don't think that's the plan right now. I think they know it's sort of an open secret, it feels like, down there, that they know that they're going to be moving on and they're going to be getting somebody with a little bit more promise there.
Barry is in Adams. Hi, Barry.
Barry.
All right, we'll put him on hold. Been waiting for some time. Daniel in Burlington, go ahead.
I think the Kraft sold Mayo a bill of goods, and he's just their puppet now. Mayo thought they were going to set the market, but instead Jonathan Kraft said right to the Flemish cap.
That's a perfect storm reference. For anyone who didn't get that.
We might have a movie segment at 1:20.
Oh, is that right?
Maybe.
For Overdrive? Let's try Barry again. Hey, Barry, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Okay.
What's up, Barry?
Hey, hi, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
I'm calling. I think the offense coordinator job could go to Nick Haley.
Yep, I think he could be in the mix.
Okay, I'm calling because I think Nick Haley would be a good choice for that, and that if they continue on with their draft, that the Marvin Harrison would be a good choice, and then pick up a guy like Bo and Nix in round 2.
Okay, Barry. That's his plan. Nick Caley, Bo Nix, and Marvin Harrison Jr.
It's not that bad.
I don't hate it. I don't.
Good job, Barry.
I think Bo Nix might be, after Jaden Daniels, he might be the guy at the top of that second tier of quarterbacks in the draft this year. So if you can get him in the second round, again, these guys usually, don't they usually get inflated, their value, their draft stock gets inflated the closer you get to the draft, especially in draft weekend. And if 3 quarterbacks go in the top 3.
Call that the run, Phil.
Yeah, I don't think he's making it to the second round.
You got to trade up to 22.
But I don't hate that. Yeah. Kaylee's got a relationship with Mayo. They coach together. My understanding is a pretty good relationship. And so he spent some time here, spent some time under McVay. Just 1 year under McVay, never coached quarterbacks. But that's a guy, once this process starts, that I think they should reach out to.
All right.
See if he's ready.
Phil, thanks for being here.
Appreciate you guys.
We'll have you back in studio next week.
See you, Phil.
Sounds good.
A few times coming up in the near future. So looking forward to that. We'll have RJ Bell of pregame.com right after the headlines.